I'm going to open the meeting. This is the Municipal Land Use Board meeting for Wednesday, January 6, 2021. It's 7:30 p.m. and we are being recorded electronically. I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. And I'm going to start out with my brand new statement that I have here that I have to read. This meeting of the Municipal Land Use Board of the Borough of River Edge is being held remotely and recorded via Zoom due to COVID-19 pandemic and in its compliance with the provisions of Executive Orders 103 and 104 of the Open Public Meetings Act and associated regulations. Notice of this meeting has been published in the Ridgewood News and the Bergen Record on December 23rd, 2020 and January 1st, 2021, posted on the front door of Borough Hall and posted on the Borough's website. The notice included the dial-up and login information necessary for public participation and access to the meeting remotely. A copy of this agenda for this meeting has been made available on the Borough's website near the posting of the meeting notice, including the dial-in login information. During the public comment period of this meeting, if you wish to make a statement, you may raise your hand by pressing 9 on your phone or on your telephone keypad, or do the raise hand thing on your Zoom. The board will address you by name and the last 4 digits of your telephone number. You may mute or unmute at any time by pressing the microphone. You may state your name and address prior to making any public comment. Members of the public were permitted to submit written comments prior to the meeting via email or email or regular mail, which will be read during the public comments of this meeting. Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Mayor?
Present.
Mr. Arkelian?
Here.
Ms. Boland?
Ms. Boland is absent with prior notice.
Okay. Mr. Gibbons?
Here.
Mr. Merman?
Here.
Mr. Grasso?
Here.
Mr. Cray?
Here.
Mr. Caslin?
Here.
Councilman Kinigo?
Here.
Mr. Pfeffer?
Here.
Mr. Esposito?
Here.
Okay.
Okay. The first order of business, you know what, I'm just going to skip down just a little bit. Let's swear in our newest member. I want to welcome Mr. Bruce Feller. Bruce, say hello.
It's Pfeffer, but that's okay. Hello.
Pleasure to meet you. What is it, Pfeffer?
Right.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
So welcome to the board. We're happy to have you. It is a very friendly board. We've all known each other for a long time. We're looking forward to get to know you as well. And at this point, Ms. Stinley will swear you in.
Okay, we also have several other board members who need to be sworn in.
But they're reappointments, no? They still have to be sworn in on reappointments?
Yes.
Okay, so then I want to congratulate Ms. Eileen Bowen was reappointed, Mr. Merman was reappointed, and Mr. Ryan Gibbons was moved from I believe the first alternate to a regular member. And we're really happy to have you back as a regular member for us. So with that, Marina.
Mr. Esposito was also reappointed as alternate.
All right, I don't have his name on the list. But
He was on the resolution at the reorg.
Okay, so welcome back, Mr. Esposito. We're glad you're still with us. Yep.
So what I can do is for all the reappointments, we can just do one together, but for Mr. Pfeffer, I can do his separately. So then, all right. Mr. Pfeffer, could you please raise your right hand? And then repeat after me. I, and then state your name.
I, Bruce Pfeffer,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
that I will faithfully, partially, and justly
perform all of the duties of the office
perform all the duties of the office
of alternate member
of alternate member
of the Borough of River Edge Municipal Land Use Board
of the Borough of River Edge Municipal Land Use Board
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
and that I will support the Constitution
and I will support the Constitution
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
of the United States and of the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States and in this state
in the United States and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and then the reappointed members, I have Councilman Kinigo. He's a Class 3 member for a new one-year term. Ms. Boland, who's not present tonight, but she will be reappointed for a 3-year term. Mr. Gibbons is a Class 4 member who will complete the term of Mr. Bartoloni, and his term will end in December 2022. And then Mr. Esposito is starting a new 2-year term as an alternate member. So we can
I think
do
also-
everyone.
Did
What
you
about
mention
Dick
Mr.
Merman?
Yeah, you didn't mention Mr. Merman.
Oh,
Mr.
oh,
Merman.
yep, and Mr. Merman, I have him on my list too. Sorry about that. He is reappointed for as a Class 4 member for a new 4-year term as well.
Oh, thank you.
So we can do, everyone can raise their hand and then just state your name in the spot, and then you can state your class type when we go over the class. Okay, so I state your name.
Richard Merman.
Brian Gibbons.
Hi, Richard
Gary
Merman.
Esposito.
Do solemnly swear or affirm
Do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
That I will
faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform all of the duties of the office
perform all of the duties of the office
of, state your class type,
Class 4 for Dick Merman
of the Borough of River Edge Municipal Land Use Board
of the
the
Borough of River Edge Municipal Land Use Board
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
and that I will support the Constitution
and that I will
And I will
support the Constitution
of the United States and the State of New Jersey,
and the United
of
States,
the States and the
State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and bear
I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established
and to the
to the
government
governments
established
established
in this state and the
In this-
United States
in this state
in the
and
state
the
of the
United
United
States
States
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
you.
Hey, congratulations, guys.
Very good. You had so many, only like 2 of us are clapping. Okay, so next we have to adopt the 2021 calendar. Now, back a couple of weeks ago, I had requested from the mayor that we move our meetings to the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of the month instead of the 1st and 3rd. I didn't have a problem with it. We checked the borough calendar, and the dais is open again for that if we ever get back there. So we'll be meeting now and then in 2 weeks. So it'll be the 1st and 3rd in January, and then starting in February and moving forward, it'll be the 2nd and 4th. Any questions, comments, concerns?
2nd and 4th Wednesday, correct?
Correct.
All right.
All right,
Just for our records, are we gonna just get something that just states what those actual dates are, just so we don't screw something up?
Edwin will get us the calendar, right, Ed? He's shaking his head yes.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you.
So I'm going to need a motion to amend the adoption of the 21-20 calendar to change the dates to the 2nd and 3rd. I'm sorry, the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of the month, starting in February. Can I get a motion on that, please?
So made, Dick Merman.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
That was Mr. Gibbons. Okay.
We need a roll call, or is it all in favor? Good.
Whatever you would like, it's fine. We could do a roll call just
No
to be
roll
safe.
call. Go ahead, roll call. vote, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Ms. Boland is absent, Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
Mr. Cray. Oh, I think he's on mute.
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Councilman Kinigo,
Yes.
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
and Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Got through the hard stuff. Let's get to the easy stuff now. We have election of officers, and the first up is for the chair. And I'm looking to entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to, for Mr. Chris Caslin.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please. Oh, any other nominations? Nominations, I'll conclude close. Marina, can you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Ms. Boland is absent, Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
I did it again, sorry,
no,
yes.
that's okay. Okay. Mr. Caslin,
Sure, why not? Yes.
Councilman Kinigo,
Yes.
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
Congratulations, Chris. Before I hand the gavel over, and this is my gavel tonight, I just want to thank the board for the last 5 years. I've thoroughly enjoyed being your chairman. I've thoroughly enjoyed working with each and every one of you. I've gotten to know all of you, and I consider all you friends at this point. I am a big believer of term limits, and I think 5 years was a good run. And it certainly, I think it was time for somebody else to get a shot at it. And Chris is, I'm extremely happy to hand the gavel over to Chris. I think that, I just, again, thank you guys. We had a great time together, and we've done some really wonderful things in those 5 years, and this will be my 25th year. So in those years, it's just been a lot of fun. So with that, Chris, I hand everything over to you, and it's your show.
Before we do that, I just want to thank you, Jim, for 25 years of outstanding service to the Borough of River Edge and 5 years as the chair. We are grateful for your hard work and your commitment to River Edge.
Thanks, Mayor.
McMerman, here.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Jim, and we'll do our very best to carry everything forward that
I have no doubt.
you've.
And I'm going to be able to mute myself.
All right. The next item on the agenda then for election of officers is for the position of vice chair. Do I have a nomination?
I nominate Dick Merman for vice chair.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. May I have a roll call, please?
Are there any other nominations before I do the roll?
Thank you. Yeah. Are there any other nominations?
Okay, I'll do the roll then.
Roll call.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Abstain.
okay. Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Councilman Kinigo,
Yes.
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
All right, congratulations.
Congratulations, Dick.
Okay. Congratulations, Dick. Look forward to working with you going forward as well, continually. The next position to be filled is board secretary. We have a nomination, please.
I'd like to,
Mr.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Lou Grasso. He did a great job for us in the last few years. I've enjoyed working with him. He's makes himself available when he's needed, and the documents get signed when they need to be signed. So I'd like to nominate him as our secretary.
I'll second that, Dick Merman.
Do we have any other nominations?
Okay,
Okay.
I'll do
can we
a
have roll call,
roll.
please?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes,
Mr. Grasso,
Abstain.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations, Lou.
Thank you,
Congrats.
Chris. Thank you,
Alright.
Jim.
Continuing down the list here, we now move to the appointment of our board professionals. The first position will be that of attorney. Do we have a nomination, please?
Chris, I'd like to nominate Marina Stinley and her team of Brian Chakowski and Nailima Nabi as our board attorneys again. They are extremely responsive. They've done a fabulous job. Marina has shown herself to be well further than her age as far as knowledge goes. She's able to answer any questions I have right on the spot. I've enjoyed working with her, and Chris, I know you're going to enjoy working with her too.
I
Thank you.
second that.
Do we have any other nominations?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you, Dick. Okay, can we have a, with no other nominations, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes,
Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I have really
Congratulations.
enjoyed working with you all this past year and look forward to the upcoming years.
You're in really good hands with Chris.
Congratulations.
Marina.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you. Our next position to be filled is that of board planner. May I have a nomination, please?
Mr. Chairman, rare is it that a town can enjoy a homegrown professional on the board. And Tom has been that guy. Tom is, again, working with him has been fabulous. He's very easy to get hold of, always answers his phone, always follows up on everything I've asked. Chris, I think you'll be very, very happy to have him on board with your team. And I would like to nominate Tom Behrens as our borough planner.
Second.
Thank you. Any other nominations? With that, can we have a roll call, please?
Okay, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
yes,
Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
Wanted to say thank you very much. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I look forward to working with everyone in the year ahead. So thanks again.
Congratulations, Tom.
Congratulations.
you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yes.
Okay. And the final appointment this evening is for board engineer. May I have a nomination, please?
Chris, I told you I was going to mute myself, but soon. We've had Mr. Costa and Costa Engineering now for quite a while. He has shown himself to be about as knowledgeable an engineer that I've ever worked with. He knows not only where all the pipes are buried, but probably where all the bones are buried as well in town. He's a fine engineer. He brings a lot to the table. And he again, another one that I call him and he returns the call immediately. So again, he's going to be somebody that is going to make your job a lot easier, Chris. He made my job a lot easier in the 5 years. So I would recommend and make a motion that we continue to use Mr. Costa's and Costa Engineering.
Second that.
Do I have a second?
Second, Gibbons.
Thanks, Ryan. Any other nominations? And there being none, can I have a roll call, please?
All right, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
yes,
Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo. Oh, I think he's muted.
You're muted.
Sorry, yes.
Okay, Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations.
Congratulations, Bob,
Right, yep.
wherever you are.
Wherever you are. All right. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from our last meeting on December 16th, 2020. Do we have any comments to those minutes? Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna say one more thing. I do have a comment. I know she's not on, but she'll hear this. Lisa, you've done a wonderful job for us. Your minutes have been impeccable. It's great that I can go back and see, the silly things that I said during the meetings. And I just want to thank you for your service. And I didn't want to forget Mr. Alter either. You've been my right-hand man, Ed. And I wanted to say that before, but I was caught up at the moment. So I'm sorry. There you go. And I'll make the motion that we accept the minutes.
Excuse me, can I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Grasso, actually, you were not present at the last
Oh,
meeting.
you are
I'm gonna
correct.
ask for another second.
Okay, second, Mike Cray.
Okay, and we
Um,
can just do a
General
voice vote. Yep.
voice vote, let's go ahead and do that.
So all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions?
I abstain.
I abstain.
Grasso.
Dick Berman abstains, he was absent.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda, this evening, we have a couple of memorializations. The first one is for Passage, Helena and Nad, 171 Valley Road, Block 1101, Lot 18. Any comments on the resolution? Okay. There being none, could we move forward for a vote on approval?
So moved, Mike Cray.
You need a motion on that, Chris. A motion
Yeah,
and a second.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain?
Dick Berman abstains, he was absent.
Gibbons, I was absent as well.
Okay. And also Mr. Grasso.
All right. Next memorialization is for Jason and Dana Hosey at 219 Voorhees Avenue, Block 707, Lot 11. Any comments on the resolution? Okay, there being none, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Mike Cray.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Dick Berman absent.
Gibbons, absent.
Lou Grasso absent.
Okay.
Last memorialization for the evening, we have Tina Way, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, 226 Manchester Road, Block 901, Lot 22. Any comments on the resolution? There being, I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain.
Dick Merman,
Grasso.
absent.
Ryan Gibbons, absent.
All right. That's everyone. Okay, so we're going to move on now to new business on the agenda for completeness review. The first one for the evening, we have Killam Mediterranean LLC, 645 Kinderkmack Road, Block 614, Lot 8.02, application for a food handler's license. Marina?
Okay, so prior to the meeting, I reviewed the proofs submitted by the applicant, and they were sufficient to permit the board to have jurisdiction to proceed tonight. So we're good to go.
Okay. Tom?
I'll add that I've also reviewed the application materials and they're sufficient to determine the application is complete to be heard by the board.
Okay. Do we have anybody here for the applicant this evening?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Colin Quinn on behalf of the applicant. I do have my client, my two professionals online as well.
Okay, hello, Mr. Quinn.
Good evening.
Good evening,
normally-
everybody.
Applicant Hassan Tuferi, owner of the Killam restaurant.
We're gonna have to do just a vote on the completeness before
Right.
we move forward, and then
Right.
we'll come back.
Fair enough. Just want to make sure people are here. I'm just trying to figure
Okay.
out all the boxes on the Zoom here. Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay. And I have a motion for proving completeness.
So moved. Gibbons?
Second Merman,
Marina, can we do a roll call?
Sure. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
yes.
Freeze?
Marina,
I think I froze.
you froze, yeah.
Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
okay. Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Councilman Kinigo,
Yes.
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, we'll be back to you shortly. The next item on the agenda for completeness review is Susan Eng, 916 Poplar Avenue, Block 108, Lot 11, for proposed addition with lot coverage variances being requested. Marina?
prior to tonight's meeting, I reviewed the proof submitted by the applicant, and they were sufficient to provide the board with jurisdiction to proceed on the application tonight.
Okay. Tom?
And I've also reviewed the application materials and have determined that they are sufficient to be determined complete.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay, there being none, could I have a motion to approve completeness?
So moved. Gibbons?
Second Merman,
Okay, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
yes.
Mr. Grasso. Oh, I think we're muted.
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Councilman Kinigo,
Yes.
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, everyone. So on to new business. We'll go back to Killam Mediterranean LLC, 645 Kinderkmack Road, Lot 8.02 and Block 614, application for a food handler's license. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Mayor, council. Happy New Year, everyone. My name is Colin Quinn. I am counsel for the applicant, Killam Mediterranean. I have with me this evening my client, Hassan Tuferi. I have Andrew Fettis, an architect based out of Ordell, New Jersey, and Sean McClellan, an engineer with Lentelmi Associates from Hillsdale, New Jersey. This, you do correctly stated, Mr. Chairman, this is an application for site plan approval in connection with a food handler's license for 645 Kinnickinnick Road, River Edge. It's required under section 350-4E of the Borough's Site Plan Review Ordinance for this application to be made. There are no other variances for parking or any other aspects of the proposed use. There was a prior application back in 2004 for a restaurant at this exact location, wherein 82 seats and the accompanying parking was approved by this planning board. And it is the intention and proposal of this applicant to stay within the confines of that resolution and provide 82 seats and comply with the parking requirements as well. As I said, I do have 3 witnesses available to testify this evening. But before I do, counsel, would you like me to pre-mark exhibits? How do you want to handle that?
Yes, you could pre-mark, or you can mark them as we go along. Just to know.
Okay, which is your preference?
We can mark them as you go along. That's fine.
Okay, very well. My first witness I'd like to call is Andrew Fettis, who is the architect for the project. Mr. Fettis, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Oh, counsel, would you like to voir dire him, or you would prefer me to do it?
I can do that. We
Okay.
can just swear you in first. You can please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And could you please state your name for the record and then provide the board with some of your experience and background?
Yes, Andrew Fethes, F-E-T-H-E-S, 613 Oradell Avenue, Oradell, New Jersey. I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey since 1991. I have worked on numerous commercial projects in Bergen County in the area, in addition to appearing before this board last year for the Sendai Sushi application right next door to 645 Kinnickinnick Road.
Okay, and does the board accept those qualifications?
Yes, Dick Murray.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, counsel. Mr. Fettis, if you would, for the benefit of the board, would you please explain the document, identify the document that you prepared and submitted, and give the general overview narrative of what it is?
Sure. Can I share a screen at this point?
Yes.
Why don't we identify the document first, Mr. Fettis? Yes, it would be appropriate to share your screen.
Right. So the document is a drawing I prepared. It's entitled First Floor Plan and Basement Floor Plan Existing. It's sheet A 1.0, and it's dated, give me a second, 24 November 2020.
Counsel, shall we identify that as A-1?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Fettis, please proceed with the description of the plan that you prepared, that you just identified.
Okay, thank you very much. So the plans we prepared are 2 floors, first floor and a basement level. The property is 645 Kinnickinnick Road. It's an existing Mediterranean restaurant. It's located in a strip mall along the west side of Kinnickinnick Road. This particular space is on the north side of the facility of the building. One storefront south of the northernmost part of the strip mall. As one would expect in a typical restaurant arrangement at a strip mall, it's organized, sort of typically walking into a vestibule. Here, there is a large dining room, which measures approximately 1,350 square feet. Behind that, for the sake of our conversation, north is the top of our sheet here. To the west of the main dining room is a small, maybe I can zoom in a little as well for you all. There's a small wait station, typical refrigerator, soda machines, coffee machine, sink. Behind that is the primary kitchen for the restaurant. Typical arrangement with dishwashing, refrigeration, prep table. Hook line is, a further back portion of the kitchen to the west. Off of the wait station, there is sort of a small area with 2 separate toilet rooms, a corridor, and a janitor's closet, utility closet.
Are the toilets both ADA handicap accessible?
They are both ADA accessible, yes.
Mr. Fettis, can you give us a breakdown of the tables as set forth in your project notes on the plan?
Sure,
The
absolutely.
count and seats.
Yep, absolutely. I would preface by saying that when we went and measured the space, of course, this was during COVID, and there wasn't any permitted seating indoors, and the table arrangement was mostly sort of outside. So this is, we did not measure this exact configuration, but we worked with Mr. Turkeri, and this is reasonably what existed beforehand. So we have a total of 82 seats broken down into numerous, sort of, 2, 4, and 5-person tables. There are 7 2-person tables, total of 14 seats. There's 12 4-person tables, another 48 seats, and then 4 5-person tables with 20 seats. Adding that together, we reach a total of 82 seats.
As you described the kitchen, Mr. Fettis, would you please describe the stoves particularly and any commercial cooking hoods and what type of exhaust systems are back there?
Yeah, there's a cook line, as I mentioned, in the back of the kitchen for this west. It is a pretty standard cook line with a commercial hood and filtration system above it. Gas range, flat top, those sorts of things are all in this area, as well as a prep table adjacent to it.
Okay. And with respect to the ingress and egress from the premises, could you please identify it for the board on your site plan?
Sure. In the northeast corner of the restaurant, there is the primary entrance off of the front facade. In addition, there is a egress corridor along the southwest corner that leads directly from the dining room, in addition to the wait station and the kitchen, to an exit door in the back of the building, at the southwest corner.
With respect to the basement floor, sir, would you please explain the interior layout for that portion of the premises?
Just by way of sort of access from the kitchen, there is a stairwell, in the northwest corner of the restaurant. It leads to a stairwell that's also in the northwest corner of the basement. It's arranged sort of in 2 halves. At one point, this was likely 2 separate tenancies. Coming down from the stair is basically a food prep area and storage area with a walk-in refrigerator, some additional reach-in refrigerators, and a prep table and hand sink. In the northeast corner, there is a small business office. The entire sort of southern half of the basement is simply set up for storage and mechanical equipment, compressors, hot water heaters, things like that. In addition, there is a small sort of crawl space along the west side of the basement, which is also mechanical systems. There is a means of egress out of the basement. In addition to the stair that I described earlier, there is a common area between the tenant to the north and this tenant. There is a sidewalk bulkhead at the sidewalk between the 2 tenants, and there is access to that common area through this storage room here.
Is there anything else in your interior plan, Mr. Fettis, that you would like to point out to the board for the purpose of this application?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything in the space.
Counsel, I submit this witness for questioning.
Why don't we go through the entire presentation, Mr. Quinn, then we'll come back for questions.
Okay, happy to do that, Mr. Chairman.
Actually, Colin, just one last item just to point out, since I have it sitting here. The kitchen measures approximately 340 square feet.
Thank you for that information. Okay, at this time, Mr. Chairman, I would like to call the applicant's engineer, Sean McClellan, and have him sworn.
Okay, please proceed. Marina, would you do the honors?
Do you please remove the shared screen?
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. McClellan, I believe you're on mute. Oh, there we go. Could you please just raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, and then just state your name, spell your last name, provide your address, and give the board some background information on your history or on your education and experience, please.
Sure. It's Sean McClellan, McClellan. Business address is 101 West Street in Hillsdale. I received my Bachelor of Science from NGIT in 1997. I've been a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey since 2004. I've appeared in front of various zoning and planning boards throughout Bergen, Essex, Morris, and Passaic counties, as well as the River Edge. Actually, I was here for the project next door at the Sensei Sushi as well.
Okay. So does the board accept those qualifications?
Accepted, Berman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Mr. McClellan, if you would, sir, please identify the site plan which you have prepared for the purpose of this application.
Sure. It's a site plan for Killer Mediterranean LLC, lot 8.02, block 614 in the Borough of River Edge.
Thank you. Counsel, shall we mark this as A-2?
Yes.
Mr. McClellan, sir, if you would, please, for the benefit of the board, please give us an overview of the site plan that you've prepared.
Sure. So the property in question is a shopping center.
Mr. McClellan, would you be able to share your screen?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. What happened? Okay. Everybody see that?
Yes.
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 All right, so it's a shopping center at the intersection of Monroe Avenue and Kinnercamack Road. It consists of 6 units. Starting from the south is the largest unit, which is 625, and then as you go to the north, we have a smaller unit, 637. 639, 643, and our property in question is 645. And as I mentioned, the sushi restaurant is number 651. The parking lot, you come in on the south of the property off of Monroe Avenue, and it's a one-way parking area. It kind of loops around the building along Kinnercamack, and then it comes around and comes back out onto Monroe Avenue. The parking on site, there's 105 parking spaces on site as it currently exists, and we're also proposing to keep the parking exactly how it is at the 105 spots. There is a shortage in parking if you break down the site as a whole, as in a shopping center. It would be required to have 125 spaces, and the current layout only has 105. I think that's been that way since I've been involved with the projects at this site, and we're keeping 82 tables. the existing was 82 tables and our proposed
That would be 82 seats, Mr. McClellan.
82 seats, and we're proposing to keep those 82 seats. So we feel that the parking that's on site right now is adequate.
Mr. McClellan, are you familiar with the 2004 Planning Board resolution relevant to this particular space?
Yes, I did read through it.
Okay, and did the Planning Board, in the course of that application, take traffic engineering testimony and other parking study testimony in the consideration of establishment of a new parking requirement for that space?
They did.
Okay, and isn't it a fact, sir, that the board concluded that 14 spaces was in fact appropriate and necessary for that a particular restaurant use at this location?
That's correct.
And that would be for 82 seats, sir. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. McClellan, just moving along, would you just please describe the rear of the premises, namely the access to the trash and how that's being controlled?
Sure. So let me get back to my screen here. Okay. So currently there is a trash area here. We have this fence, and there's a dumpster where the trash currently goes. As architect pointed out, there used to be a door there that's been bolted shut, but there is another door at the south portion of our building.
That will provide access to the rear lot and to the trash compactor.
Correct.
Is there anything else you can tell the board with respect to the general overall condition of the property in compliance with the site plan review ordinance?
Yeah, just as I mentioned before, the parking there, just of all the times I've been to the site, it seems like it is never that many cars there. We have 82. The current place that was there before us had 82 seats. We're going to have those 82 seats as well. So I feel like there's not going to be any adverse impact to the parking on the property.
Thank you, Mr. McClellan. I have no other questions to this witness. Mr. Chairman, I would like to call my third witness. That would be the owner of the restaurant, Hassan Takuri.
Please proceed, Mr. Quinn.
And then could you just remove the screen? Thank you.
Mr. Takuri, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Hassan Tukeri, Turkeri.
Okay.
Thank you, counsel. Mr. Takuri, you're the owner of Killam Mediterranean Restaurant?
Correct.
Sir, as the owner of this restaurant, are you the individuals responsible for this application?
I am responsible for the application, yes.
Can you please explain to the board exactly what you're trying to establish at this location?
Well, this, I live close by, I live in Rodell, and I have another business established in Edgewater. And I always want to have, I love eating and serving food. It's just my passion. And I just wanted to, I see this place was,
We're getting a lot of feedback. I don't know if anybody else on the board is. Do you have another close by that you have turned on? Just getting to
sorry?
There's a lot of feedback on your microphone.
Your microphones pick up a lot of background noise and you're echoing.
All right.
It's difficult to understand.
All right. Is it better now? Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
I think there may be a mic on the headpiece as well as the device. And so the two mics might be getting picked up.
1 second. Is it a little better now?
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
That's better. Thank you.
Alright.
Please start at the beginning. Explain what you're trying to put at this location.
I live in Rodell, and I was driving by here all the time. I see this place was, for sale. It was an Italian restaurant now.
Something's not right.
Yeah.
Can I hear me?
Is there somebody else there with a phone maybe that's also on?
No, there's nobody else here on the phone. And
Then perhaps try taking off the earpiece
I
and just
think-
using the device.
Can you just mute your computer and leave the earphones in?
they just changed my.
Yeah.
Maybe it's better right now. 1 second.
I think Miss Stinley might be onto something. Is your computer volume on?
No, it's not. Is it better now? Can you hear me clearly a little better?
No.
No,
Same.
reverb.
No.
That's better.
Same, I
Right.
think.
Try to say something now, please.
All right. Is this better right now? Can you hear me clearly? Still the same? It changed.
Same on mine.
Yeah.
Same with your. Just try to hear someone else to make it better. 1 second. 1 second. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That sounds better.
Sorry, that's probably my earphones. I live close by. I live in Oradell, and I was driving by here all the time, and I see this restaurant, the Italian restaurant, was for sale. And I always love eating Mediterranean, and that was my passion. I love cooking, and I own also a business. I'm doing high-end rugs, Oriental rug business in Edgewater, and I just took over the restaurant. Wanted to just sell organic good food. And I took over and I did do painting and change the decoration of the restaurant a little bit. I'm just almost
Mr.
same.
Curry, if you
Yes.
would, can you please tell the board what your hours of operation are going to be?
It's from 11 a.m. till 10 p.m. Tuesday till Sunday. Monday we're closed.
Okay, and can you tell the board what type of takeout business, delivery business you're going to have that's on site?
It's takeout, delivery, lunch and dinner, but lunch is a little light, so mostly we are focusing on dinner.
Is it your expectation that you'll have a heavier dinner crowd than a lunch crowd, sir?
Yes, we are expecting more heavier crowd in dinner time.
How many employees do you expect to have on site per shift, sir?
5.
And of those 5 employees who will be on site, how will they travel to and from your place of business?
By bus, by car. Usually 2 or 3 of them comes with one car, or they live together.
So there'll be carpooling among your employees in order to get to work, sir?
Yes.
With respect to delivery vehicles, will they be parked on site overnight, Mr. Takuri?
Overnight, no.
Will you have any commercial vehicles parked on site?
No, we don't have any commercial vehicles.
Okay. With respect to your kitchen, Mr. Takuri, can you explain for the board what type of appliances you have in there and what you've done to the kitchen with respect to upgrades and venting and exhaust?
I took over this restaurant February, and unfortunately, when it was March, we went into pandemic days, and we really had hard time. And then we already had so many things being asking from us to change the filters, fans. And then we had done we changed almost all the appliances and things in the kitchen because we just, everything is brand new right now.
Okay. Did you install a commercial cooking hood over the stove, sir?
Yes, we did change that, and we put a new filter system. It's all new and
What is your expectation for how you will maintain the filters and cleaning of the filters in the cooking hood?
I mean, we change the filters every week, and then every 2 or 3 months, we have a guy comes here and then check the system for us.
Mr. Takuri, you did procure from the borough a temporary permit to have outdoor dining over the summer. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
And the time for you to continue with that type that you were engaged in that was permitted by state law has expired, hasn't it?
Actually, we received a letter from town telling us if we fill the applications and forms and then do all the requirements, they would allow us to keep tent outside for until end of the March, I believe. And we
Did you apply for this permit to extend your outdoor dining through March, Mr. Takuri?
Yes.
And did you file an application with the town?
Yes, we did.
Can you tell us what the outcome of that application has been, sir?
They told us fill out all the applications and requirements, and then we'll come and do the inspection. Today we were expecting someone to come and inspect, but nobody showed up yet. It's been 2 weeks. We've been waiting for someone to come and inspect us.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I have no other questions of this witness at this time. I do submit all three of my witnesses for questioning from the board.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Quinn. I'm going to turn it over to our planner, Mr. Behrens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few comments, really. As indicated, this is, as far as I can tell, a variance-free application. I will make mention that there is an existing sign with the restaurant name, and I believe it fits within a previously approved sign box. So there does not appear to be any issues there, and that the existing sign is conforming as far as I can tell. I would agree that the applicant should, comply with all prior approvals for, both the space and the site. And really the only other comment that I have pertains to the outdoor dining. As many on the call know, and some may not, the state provided new guidance for the winter months that came out just before or after Thanksgiving. That information was submitted to the various the applicable restaurants in town. I have yet to see this application. That doesn't mean, it must be at the building department, I guess. And so I expect that they will follow up with those inspections soon. And I also expect that the applicant will, strictly adhere to those state guidelines moving forward. So, I'm glad we got to this point, and, look forward to you having a successful business in town. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Behrens. I'd like to open it to the board for questions. Why don't we start out, Mr. Cray?
Yeah, just one or two questions. One is just point of clarification. The letter of non-compliance from Burgess, I guess that was back in July, referenced that there was an increase in proposed seating to 100. Was the application revised to take it back down to 82, or am I?
Yes. May I respond to that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Cray. Yes, that was the initial application that was filed by the client before I represented them. I filed this application 2 months ago, and the application does reflect in the plans, and that's testified to by the planner and the engineer, that it should be 82 seats, which is compliant with the 2004 resolution.
And just the second question, you talked about delivery of vehicles, Mr. Chakari, and that you expected kind of a heavier load at dinner in general. How many delivery vehicles do you anticipate you're going to need? Is it one? Is it two? I mean, just any sense of that?
Mr. Curie, would you answer that question, please, sir?
1 or 2, yes.
Okay, no more than that?
Well, I hope we have big expectations, but It's pandemic days, it's been really tough with us. So
Mr. Takuri, can you explain the type of vehicle that will be making deliveries to your restaurant?
it's just regular small car.
And when will those deliveries take place, sir?
Early morning, they come around between 9 to 10, I would say. Just small deliveries.
That's really all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cray. Mr. Grasso?
Only concern I have would be that all the appropriate state guidelines are followed for the outdoor dining. That I don't know, what they are, but just if there's any type of balusters or any protection for any of the outdoor diners, or if it's going to be in the evening, if there's any type of lighting at the perimeter of the dining, area, so there's never a problem with the, automobile in the diners.
Mr. Burns, do we have any guidance on protections given that the location of the tents in the parking area?
Yes, initially, when this program was approved by the state and the borough adopted a resolution allowing for temporary outdoor dining, the safety provisions were reviewed both by the chief of police as well as the borough engineer. So right now they do have these water-filled jersey barriers around their temporary outdoor dining facility, which have been approved, which are in the same location. The parameters that have changed regarding the winter months pertain to the number of walls that can be had on the tent, which remain at 2. That was the same for the summer. And a tent can either be snow rated and be allowed to stay up, or there must be a snow plan that, if there's any inclement weather or significant snow expected, that the tents have to be taken down beforehand. And so the applicant's, application with the building department will have to be reviewed accordingly, and they're going to have to work it out with the construction official. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Barron.
you.
Mr. Gibbons?
So you've stated that you have changed out all of the kitchen cooking structures or appliances that were in there?
Yes.
That we've either upgraded or gone along the same lines of what was there prior?
Everything was updated because when we got over, unfortunately, everything was very old and, didn't work properly. So we did purchase new items, applicants for the kitchen.
Okay.
And try to, get the best ones and, the good ones so we can use for a long time.
Okay. And the amount of seating is similar to what was there with the prior restaurant?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arkelian.
Unmute.
Unmute.
Adjourn.
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Kanigo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, Mr. Quinn. I'm good. No questions.
Okay.
Evening, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Esposito?
I'm good.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pfeffer?
No questions.
All right. Mr. Merman?
Most of my prior concerns have been answered. I just want to reconfirm a couple of items. Your kitchen hood is new, you said, including the filtration system, which I believe you estimated you were going to perform maintenance on those filters every 2 to 3 months. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you also stated that your bathrooms, I believe it was your architect, said that they're handicap accessible.
Yes.
Okay, I did note the change in the sign, but it's also within the box. I want to make sure you don't intend to make any other changes to that sign. That's it?
We did not make any change. It's the same frame, we just changed the name.
Correct, all right.
Same
And
size, same frame.
that's all you're going to do to the sign.
Yes.
I will note that your outdoor dining has 32 seats, I believe. I checked it the other day. it looks like about 32. And your maximum interior is 82, correct? Not 100, but 82.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Mr. Arkelian, the applicant or the owner of the site has changed that whole rear fence, which was your one of your main thrusts in the past, which I think is very good. And we should note that.
Yeah, I was very happy to get
See a project
the
come to
owner
a
of the
conclusion.
building to see that it was a benefit to both him and the borough to change that fence. I would have liked them to change the fence along the other property that goes east to west, but I'll live with what I have.
Well, I think it's a great improvement, and I appreciate all the efforts you've made over the years to get that accomplished.
Thank you, Mr. Merman.
Okay, let's just make sure. I believe I have everything. Mr. Chairman, if you're ready, I can make oh, we gotta go to public yet.
We gotta
Okay.
go to public first, Mr. Merman.
Right.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to open to the public, please?
So made, Merman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay. Do we have anybody from the public? Ms. Kaufman?
We do. If anyone has a question regarding this matter, just raise your hand or type the question in the chat box. Or for the person who dialed in, you can hit *9.
And I'm sorry, which matter is this?
This is for 645 Kindercamack Road, block 614, lot 8.02, Killam Mediterranean LLC.
Thank you. No questions on that.
Okay. Can I have a motion then to close the floor?
So moved. Gibbons?
Second, Merman.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion on this application, please.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I propose that the board grant site plan approval for a food handler's license for 645 Kindercamack, block 614, lot 8.02. And that the total seating capacity of 82, which we're approving, includes the total of both indoor and exterior, and that the exterior seating conform to all current and existing borough and state regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Merman. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman. Marina, can we have a roll call, please?
I had one question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lou.
Dick, on that, you mentioned 82 seats in total.
Total, yes. And the reason I mentioned exterior was he can split them either way right now.
That was so the indoor and the outdoor together was 82. What was the indoor total?
The indoor total is 82. Right now, he's utilizing 32 outdoors, so he can split that any way he wants, that 82.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Merman jogged my memory just a little bit here. One of the prior approvals that we gave on that site, which of course doesn't really have anything to do with the restaurant, and I don't want to hold the restaurant hostage on it. But one of the approvals that was given in the past was that the on the sidewalk on Monroe Avenue, there is a Bessler doors, and those Bessler doors have a rise to them from cement, from being older, and they were supposed to make sure that was flattened out, so it wasn't a hazard. So what they've done to try to rectify that hazard has left a cone there for like the last 3 or 4 years. We did give them whatever they asked for, what was part of that approval. I don't remember. We can, I can have Mr. Alter check back in the approvals there. But if Mr. Quinn would just mention it to the landowner, that was a promise they made, and I'd like to see that taken care of so nobody falls over it.
Mr. Arakilian, thank you. I will, I believe that was the 04 resolution, which included Mr. Merman's report that dealt with the parking along the south side of the building. I will share a copy of that with the landlord, as well as your recommendation for them to address that issue.
I'm showing my age, 04. All right, I just, again, the cone there is unsightly, and the spot should be fixed. They agreed to do it, and I guess it's been a little while. So Colin, if you could just remind them on that. Again, I don't want that to affect this application. It has nothing to do with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arakilian. Mr. Merman, do you want to amend your motion to include that recommendation?
Sure. The
No,
recommendation that
I'm
would
sorry.
include,
I don't want that included. Mr. Quinn knows how to handle it. He can handle it on his own. It shouldn't be part of this application. It would just jog my memory, that's all.
Fair enough.
I'll copy board counsel on my letter that I'll send over to Mr. Krieger.
Thanks,
Mark.
Colin. Yeah, I don't want this to be part of the application. The application is separate and apart. It's all the way down the other end. It's really part of that big piece that when they come in for approval on that someday, we can go after this again if they don't. But for now, I just Mr. Quinn can handle it.
Okay,
We're in
fair.
good hands.
And just as one final note, the outdoor seating reference is just for temporary outdoor seating due to the pandemic. But it won't apply for if the applicant would like outdoor seating after the coronavirus pandemic, it'll have to be a new application.
okay.
Understood, counsel. Thank you
Okay.
for clarification.
Okay. So, Mr. Merman, your motion, I believe, was still standing. Was there a second?
Second, Grasso.
Okay. Marita, can we do a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Arakelian,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes,
Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Councilman Kinigo,
Yes.
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations. The motion passes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, counsel. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the board, for your forbearance in this application. Very much appreciated. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
Quinn. Best of luck to you.
Congratulations. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you guys in the restaurant for dinner one day.
Have a good night.
Good night. The next item on the agenda is, if I can find the agenda. Susan Eng,
Yes, I'm here.
Poplar Avenue, Block 108, Lot 11, for a proposed addition. Looks like, Susan, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. I'm trying to get my architect back on. He left the he left the meeting. Let me just send him a message.
Okay.
Yeah, he's getting on. He said his computer froze, so he's trying to get back on right now.
While we wait, I can swear you in.
Okay.
If you just raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And could you please state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address for the record?
Susan, last name is the letter N, the letter G. I currently reside at 141 Newcomb Road in Tenafly, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Anybody else besides your architect who's going to be appearing with you this evening?
No, just me and my architect. He's actually back on.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Blake.
Okay. And your architect is Mr. Blake?
Yes, Mr. Chris Blake.
Okay. Would you like to provide a little explanation of the application before your architect provides testimony?
Basically, based on the lot size right now, based on the existing footprint of the house, I'm expanding just about going over, I believe, 31%. 31%. And right now the existing is, I'm going over, proposed layout is 31.05%, and current existing is 31.14. And I'm going over from, the allowance is 25%. So I'm only going over by a little bit in the back, so I can have enough space to make 4-bedroom on the second floor. Currently, right now, the house does not have a second story. I just needed a little bump on the back to square off the second floor to fit in 4 bedrooms.
Okay.
And then,
your architect is here this evening. Mr. Blake, good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Can hear you now, yes. Could you?
Thank you.
Marina?
okay, Mr. Blake, could you just raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and then could you state your name, spell your last name, provide your address, and give the board some information on your background and experience, please?
Okay. My name is Chris Blake, B-L-A-K-E. I'm at 24 Newbridge Road in Bergenfield. I've been a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey since 1993. A licensed architect in the state of New York since 1989. I appeared before this board and many other boards throughout northern New Jersey for the last 20 years as a sole proprietor of Chris Blake Architect.
Okay, does the board accept those qualifications?
Yes.
Accepted, Merman.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. You can proceed with the presentation.
Okay. Well, what we're proposing is the client kind of alluded to, is a second floor addition to a single story, 1-story ranch house, if you will. The property is undersized. If I can bring up my screen, I can probably discuss it a little bit easier.
Yes, please go ahead, share your screen.
So the property is undersized. It's a 5,000 square foot property, 50 by 100, where the R1 zone requires 7,500 square feet. So we're also a narrow property, a 50-foot wide property, where again, the 75-foot frontage is required. So there's 2 existing non-conformities as far as the size of the property. Again, we're kind of building a second floor over top of the first floor. We're not exceeding, but extending the existing non-conforming front yard. The non-conforming front yard right now is 19.55 or 33. I'm sorry, 19.33. Again, we're not increasing that. We're continuing a second floor above the existing first floor non-conformity. We have the 2 side yards over 5 feet and the combined side yard over 15 feet. So the side yards are actually in compliance. The rear yard is in compliance as well. So the existing non-conforming site and the existing non-conforming front yard setback will be maintained. What we are doing to the, again, with adding of the second floor is, if you will, kind of squaring off the back of the house. The back of the house kind of right now has a protrusion of a back porch slash mudroom slash kitchen, kind of peculiar kind of space, but we are kind of squaring it off, if you will. And in doing so, we're kind of filling in the corners that do increase the lot coverage. To kind of work with the board and trying to keep ourselves maintained with the coverage that we can, we've kind of decreased the rear deck, if you will. The rear deck right now is quite sizable. I think it's 16, 17 feet deep or something. So we're actually decreasing the size of the rear deck and making the stairs and the walkway a lot simpler back there. The end result is our coverage will be less than what is there right now. However, we are still over the allowable lot coverage, and we were still over the allowable improved lot coverage. Where the allowable lot coverage is 25%, the current situation is 30.78%. We're proposing a slight reduction to 30.72%. And also, similarly, the improved lot coverage is required to be 35%. Currently, right now, it is over 39%, and we're decreasing it down to just 38. Sorry, I can't read that, 38.50%. So we are maintaining essentially the same coverage that is there now. The coverages are over the allowable, I believe, because of the small non-conforming lots. We have a detached garage in the rear of the building, which obviously takes up some coverage, as well as the driveway to get back to the back of the building. It's not much because there's actually just kind of a concrete runner is what they're calling it. Just kind of a small similar driveway back there, but it does add up. So what we're proposing is doing a second floor addition to a one-story house that requires a lot coverage and an improved coverage variance that are in keeping with the existing nonconformities. What we're proposing is a kind of a large open kind of floor plan on the first floor where we have a larger kitchen than the kitchen and dining area that's there now. It's, again, the kitchen is a very peculiar, odd shape right now. We're calling it a family room in the front of the house with the bathroom on the first floor. We have the staircase. We relocated the staircase. There's a staircase going to the cellar and a slight stair ladder kind of mentality going up to the attic right now. But we're relocating the staircase to the front left corner of the house to give us the opportunity to put 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms on the second floor. All the bedrooms are modest in size. They're 10 by 12 and things of that nature. So again, this house is small. This is a small lot in a small house, but we feel that the ability to square off the back of the building, specifically on the first floor, really makes for a much more conducive and usable space. And we feel like we're with the maintaining of making the deck in the rear smaller, still having a 16 by 10 deck, which is, quite adequate for this size property. But by maintaining the smaller deck, we're able to keep the coverages similar to where they are today. We feel that this will be in keeping with the neighborhood and not really making anything any worse than what it is now. We are upgrading and we're upgrading the facade of the house. We're upgrading the look. The house right now is in, somewhat of a disrepair and kind of a hodgepodge kind of feel and look to it. So we are kind of upgrading and sprucing all the exteriors. So the house will be much more contemporary and more in style of keeping with the neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Blake. Mr. Behrens?
So
I'm sorry, Tom, before you start, Mr. Blake, if you just stop sharing your screen, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, sorry, Tom, go ahead.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to offer some additional perspective in addition to Mr. Blake's testimony. So as was mentioned, we are dealing with an undersized lot. The lot itself is 50 by 100 or 5,000 square feet, where the R1 zone requires a minimum lot size of 7,500 square feet. Again, they're going from a 1.5 story essentially to a 2.5 story building. The yard setbacks, front, side, and rear generally conform. And I'll note that the addition of just the dwelling itself is about 136 square feet or 2.5%. So in terms of the coverages that we're looking at, as the board well knows, the maximum lot coverage or building coverage is 25%, and the maximum improved lot or impervious coverage is 35%. As proposed, the dwelling is 22.5%, which is below the 25% threshold. The deck is approximately 3.25% additional building coverage, and the existing detached garage is 5%. So as noted, the existing condition is such that the building coverage is at, I believe, just over 31%, and proposed is about 31% based on my calculations, and that includes the front stoop, which I'm not sure is on the architectural drawings. And the impervious coverage existing is 39.28%, where proposed is a reduction to 38.54%. However, I will also note that, part of what's driving this and the existing coverages has to do with the existing deck, which based on the borough records does not seem to have been approved based on our records. And this would have been built prior to Ms. Ng's purchase of the property. So to some extent, it is what it is. I'll ask either Ms. Ng or Mr. Blake, are there any seepage pits being proposed to deal with the excess coverages?
Not that I know of.
I guess that would be up to the board or up to the town engineer. We would obviously comply to whatever the engineering requires.
Okay.
However, if anything, I think we're decreasing or keeping the coverage is very similar to what it is, so I'm not sure it's necessary.
I guess my comment would be, I think the board typically does leave it to the discretion of the borough engineer, and I would have no objection to that. So.
And we would comply with the borough engineer by no problem.
Okay. Just running down my list. Can you speak, Mr. Blake, to the dwelling itself and whether or not it's, consistent with the surrounding neighborhood in terms of bulk, style, character, et cetera? Have you had a chance to take that into consideration?
Yeah, I have. I mean, it's somewhat of a bungalow, again, kind of a one-story ranch house right now. There are a couple other ranch houses on the street, but there are mostly two-story houses on the street. Again, we are kind of just literally lifting up the roof and adding another story, so we are kind of not compliant, but we are kind of keeping with the atmosphere and the look of the neighborhood. Again, a two-story house of this size and shape is not peculiar to anywhere in River Edge, for that matter. And we are keeping the width of the house the way it is, and so it is kind of a similar house to what goes on with the street all around.
Okay. And in order to conform to the coverage requirements, recognizing the garage is there, you'd essentially have to shave off the deck and the proposed building addition. And I think you made it your position that the building addition just, not my position, but yours, that it increases the functionality of the dwelling as proposed. So that was generally your statement, correct?
Yes, again, it's an undersized lot to kind of adhere to the strict coverage that's required. I'm not going to say an unusable house, but makes it a tight house. And I think it's still a modest house. We're not asking for much of an addition, but I think that squaring off the back of the house does alleviate a lot of problems and does bring it up to the contemporary standards of a decent sized kitchen and a decent sized living room for the first floor.
Thank you. Just two final comments. I'm just going to note that I think the survey referenced is somewhat dated. I think the driveway has since been fully paved. However, that does not impact the impervious coverage calculations because the borough discounts, in the case of a detached garage, the distance between the front of the house to the garage does not count toward impervious. So I'm just noting that it's paved and not, it doesn't exist sort of as these two concrete strips. And I guess something for the board to consider is that, the coverages are what they are today. And, whether or not there are any impacts that result for them either today or as proposed. And those are my comments for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. I'd like to open it up to the board for questions. Mr. Arakelian, we'll start with you.
I really have nothing, but I want to talk about soil movement real quick. I meant to bring this up earlier. I spoke to Mr. Costa a couple of weeks ago regarding some different applications we had where we required them to talk to Mr. Costa about water mitigation and so forth. Just so you know, any soil removal application automatically gets reviewed for that. So pools and stuff in the future, it's not really necessary for us to go into that too much because that automatically gets triggered on soil movement. But that's all I really have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Arakelian. Mr. Grasso?
I have no comment. No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Esposito.
No, nothing.
Okay. Mr. Gibbons.
No, seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. Mr. Pfeffer.
No questions.
Mr. Cray.
I have no questions.
Mr. Mayor.
I have no questions.
Last, certainly not least, Councilman.
No questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Why don't we move to open to the public, please?
Would you like to hear, from Dick Merman?
My fault, Mr. Merman.
How could you forget?
First.
However, I have no questions, but I do want to make a couple of comments. And that being that I do recognize the undersized lot. I further recognize that this improvement is a very much aesthetic improvement to the neighborhood, which is welcome. And that it's very interesting to see a variance that actually reduces a requirement. This might, I want to say a first, but it's a first in the recently. So that's basically my comments.
Okay.
And I will move to open to the public. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Merman. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Gibbons. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The abstentions? Objections, abstentions? No? Okay. Ms. Kaufman, do we have anybody in the public for this one?
We do. So there's someone who dialed in. To the person who's dialed in, hit star 9 if you want to talk. And I'm just going to allow Jen to speak now. I know she's been waiting for a while.
And before you make your comment, just please state your name for the record and your address, please.
Thank you. Hi, this is Jen Papantonio. My husband and I are both on the line. We live at 912 Poplar Avenue. And to Mr. Merman's comment, it's actually a lovely neighborhood, and we agree that this will be a wonderful improvement as we have a delightful street, and it's not quite a dead end, but it's sort of abuts against a dead end. And we have lived in our home for a bit over 6 years. We have a couple of questions, and the first one is with respect to noise abatement during construction. My husband and I, during the pandemic, have both been working from home, and we expect to work from home for probably at least the next 9 months. So noise will certainly be an issue. So that is my first question. And what is the plan? We also have pets in the home, so high noise levels will certainly be disturbing. What is the plan to deal with noise abatement?
Well, our construction time will be usually from 8 to 4. And the most noise that that we will have is during demo. And demo usually is about like a couple, like maybe 3-4 days. And then the framing, after that, everything is actually inside. So there won't be any noise after the framing is completed.
Okay. So how long do you expect the framing period to be?
From demo to framing, about 2 weeks.
Okay. So next question. So do you plan to live in the property or to rent the property out?
I'm planning to move there with my 3 kids. Currently, we live in Tenafly right now. So the ideal goal is to move there with my 3 kids. But yeah, so far that's the plan.
Wonderful. So just for the reason that I'm asking the question is that the prior owner had tenants not once but twice, and both of those tenant experiences, they were drug dealers. We had significant issues where the police had to be called on multiple occasions. At one point, my life was threatened. It was a significant issue, and I just want to go on record that we do not want to have that problem again. So, if in fact you plan on ever having tenants, please be sure to screen them carefully, because we don't ever want to deal with that again. That was a very serious issue for us. So we want to have a nice neighborhood. We have lovely neighbors right now. I think you'll really like living here. But that was a terrible experience for me, and I don't ever want to go through it again. So it would be great to have you. We welcome you to the neighborhood. So please come on down.
Okay.
Those are all my questions. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Thank you to the council and mayor. Thank you so much for your time.
Great. Thank you for your questions this evening. Is there anybody else, Ms. Kaplan?
I see someone with their hand raised, but I don't know if that was already taken care of.
Nope, that's me, Mr. Papantonio.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just had a question in regards to, is there a basement being built also, or is this addition being, the bump out being built on a slab?
Well, the basement right now is actually kind of low. I think it's under 6.5 feet. I'm not looking to do anything in the basement, just the first floor and second floor basement. I'm just leaving as is and using it as a mechanical room. That's it.
Okay, so the bump out's gonna be like slab or
The bump out is only going to be a crawl space, and it's
Crawl
a
space,
very,
okay.
very small bump out if you looked at Mr. Chris Blake's plan.
I got you. Okay.
And any other questions?
And then there is someone who dialed in. So if you do want to ask a question, just hit *9 and you'll be able to speak. Okay, I don't think they have a question.
No.
Okay. All right, on that note, we'll take a motion to close to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Merman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objections, abstentions? Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion on this application, please.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll take a try at it. Very difficult motion here. I'll make a motion that the Land Use Board approve the application at 916 Poplar Avenue, Block 108, Lot 11, for the coverage variances, the maximum lot coverage and the maximum approved lot coverage. Also recognizing that there's probably slight pre-existing pre-existing deficiency from a setback standpoint in place. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Do we want to include anything regarding the borough engineer's review?
Yes, correct. Yes, and that the borough engineer review this application from a drainage standpoint.
Okay.
If I could add one additional thing, I think it was recognized in our review that there's some sort of impervious plastic in the landscaping in the front that's basically just throwing the water off the property, in the landscape beds, and if that could just either be revised or, take a look at it missing.
Mr. Behrens?
Yes.
Let me just mention that the other day I personally checked that myself and a spot or two in the front. And I went down about 3 inches or so to natural soil. I didn't find any plastic. It might exist elsewhere, but I didn't see any on my little field test.
All right, so we'll just make sure we comply after the fact, but thank you.
Okay, may I have a second to the motion?
Second, Grasso.
Thank you.
I just wanted to confirm the impervious plastic, is that included in the motion or not? The review?
I think we can deal with it. It's up to you, frankly. Why don't you put it in? I think, just to make sure that, things are impervious where they should be.
Okay. All right, so the motion with Mr. Merman and second from Mr. Grasso. All right. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Arkelian,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Councilman Kinigo,
Yes.
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
and Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome to town.
Welcome to the project.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so looking at the agenda, I think we've come down to the last item, comments from the board.
Mr. Chairman, may I have a couple of small comments here?
Absolutely, Mr. Merman, you have the floor.
Generally, it's the end of we receive a year-end report, a summary of the board activities for the year. Suggest that that be prepared and submitted to the board soon. I also want to just thank once again Jim Arakelian for all he's done in the last since I've been on the board there, and it's going to be nice to hear him from the other side. So Jim, thanks again, and Mr. Ferrer, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'd just like to reiterate that as well. Thank you, Jim, for getting me to be a part of this board and pushing me to get involved a little more in our community. And thank you for your years of service. And Mr. Pfeffer, welcome to the board. And Mr. Chairman, I wish you all the luck. We're very happy to have you on board as our new fearless leader.
And we're going to train you our way, Mr. Chairman.
I have no doubt, Mr. Merman. I have no doubt. I've got
Thank you, Ryan.
You and Mr. Arakelian as his bookends, I think. So,
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons, as well for your vote of confidence. Ed, if we could possibly pull the report together that Mr. Merman was mentioning about the prior year's applications, is that something we can have assembled?
I think, I don't mean to speak for Ed, but I
No,
think we
we'll
could
work on
have
that.
something by the next meeting.
Okay.
We'll work together to have something.
Figure that out. Okay, great.
Thank you.
And also, Mr. Pfeffer, could you send Ed your contact information and email so then he can add you onto our email chain to make sure that you're not left out? And then also, Mr. Caslin and Mr. Grasso, we send, you have to send in the signed resolutions to Ed after the meeting. But I'll amend the resolution about the annual meeting schedule and send that to you tomorrow morning to sign.
Great.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay. Mr. Pfeffer, welcome. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. This has been a great experience. I'm very impressed with the thoroughness and professionalism of the group, the seriousness that all the applications are treated with, and I look forward to participating more in the future.
Terrific. Welcome. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just wanted also to take a moment to thank Mr. Arakelian for his hard work on behalf of the citizens of River Edge. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Also, congratulations, Mr. Gibbons, on being bumped up, so to speak. Mr. Pfeffer, looking forward to meeting you in person at some point soon, I hope, and working with you. Congratulations to everybody who's been reappointed, Mr. Grasso, Mr. Merman, and Happy New Year, everything. Also, the professionals. Congratulations to the professionals. You guys have done great work for us, and we look forward to working with you in the new year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Chairman, you as well. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Canino.
So I just want to close by also thanking Mr. Arakelian again, even though I thanked him earlier today for his 5 years of chairmanship and 25 years of service. Mr. Pfeffer for willingness to be a part of it. Chris for willingness to take on the chair position. I'm very grateful for that. And all those who renewed. I just wanted to add a comment. Oh, and of course, our professionals, Marina and Tom and Rob, who's not here right now. But I just wanted to help the board understand why I asked for us to move from first to third to second to fourth. I know I've spoken to some of you privately about this, but Ms. Bolin has a conflict that was created when the board went from second and fourth to first and third. And when I called her up to see if she wanted to be returned for another term, she had spoken about that. And I didn't think that that would be a difficulty for us. And I really appreciate everyone allowing for that change in our calendar to go forward. And I greatly appreciate everyone on this board. As Mr. Pfeffer said, we take our jobs very seriously. We do a great job. And I'm very proud that our town has this land use board and you as individuals as a part of it. Thank you all for all that you do.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. and
Thank you.
for your leadership as well. We appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I just, one last thing. I would be remiss if I didn't thank somebody that's on with us here. She's been great in hosting our meetings. She has saved me from trying to have to learn how to do that. And it saved you, Mr. Chairman. Councilwoman Kaufman has been an invaluable part of our team, even though she's not an official member. But I did want to say thank you for all
Thank
you've
you.
done for us.
Thank you. I'm trying to keep the town running, right? Through thick and thin. So,
Well, just so you guys know, she is a technology genius and she is tenacious in what she does for the town. Our new website is outstanding and it's all due to Michelle. And we've been trying to get our 4-year-old video system up and running. And because of Michelle, we're getting there with Nick Bisink. And when we return to Chambers, we're going to be live on Cablevision and Verizon. We're already on Verizon on channel 33. So by the way, if you didn't know it, you've all been on TV for over 6 months. I think about 6 months, right, Michelle? We've had it going.
yes.
So if you ever just, we're so close to getting Cablevision to link up with us. So if you know anybody with a Verizon television setup, channel 33, we run the council meetings and the land use board meetings in loops, so you can see yourselves.
Yeah, I was wondering why, when I was at ShopRite, people kept coming over asking for my autograph.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, do you accept the motion to adjourn?
I will accept the motion to
Being
adjourn.
that I'm off mute for one more time, I will offer that motion.
May I have a
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, everyone. All right.
Thanks.
Bye.